Hey guys, I'm Jake Duke and welcome to the very first episode of the Refuse to Lose podcast. My guest today is James Roberts from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and it's a very special honour to have James on the pilot episode because not only is he a fantastic rugby league player, he is also one of my very dear friends that I've known for a very long time, and I've wanted to share his story for a long time because it is an amazing story. And for those of you that do know James, you'll know that he's actually a very shy, guarded guy and doesn't like to live his life very publicly, so he's never really spoken about a lot of the issues that he talks about in this podcast. So it is a real treat for you guys to get to hear, and I think will be an eye-opener for a lot of people to hear. For those people that don't know James, or Jimmy the Jet as he's affectionately known in the NRL to their fans, he is one of the most naturally gifted footballers in the NRL. He is a proud Indigenous man and considered one of the fastest men to ever play the game. He debuted in the NRL almost 10 years ago now at the age of 18, and he's gone on to play City Country, State of Origin, in various All-Stars games and in finals series. But it's also been a career and a life littered with many hurdles and many challenges. And James touches on a lot of those challenges throughout our chat. He talks about bouncing around from house to house as a child because of a number of issues with his parents. He talks about being exposed to different things that kids under the age of 10 probably shouldn't see, like substance abuse and domestic violence. And he goes on about how that has led him to have his own battles with anxiety, depression, and alcohol abuse, and having multiple run-ins with the law in his teenage years, and ultimately being let go by a number of NRL clubs because of disciplinary issues. He also touches on a lot of other topics like his family and having to care for his disabled brother and having kids of his own now and how that's changed his outlook on the world. And we do have a little bit of fun throughout the podcast as well. It's not all serious, so I really do hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy James's reason for doing it, which is that he wants his challenges and mistakes and his ability to get back up after everything that he's been through to serve as inspiration for those that are going through the same thing. Other people that have been dealt a rough hand but continue to play on. So without any further delay, please enjoy my chat with James Roberts. Jimmy the Jet, welcome to the Refuse to Lose podcast, brother.
What's happening, mate? Thanks for having me.
Mate, you're a hard man to get a hold of, I tell you.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, boss.
How long have we been friends for?
Since you're about, 10 years old?
Yeah, and you still aren't just useless answering the phones. Like, if people think you're hard to catch on the footy field, bro, it's like, you're hard to pin down here.
Yeah, I know. I'll do my best, man.
How do you turn up to games on time?
Yeah, lucky we got a team bus, so, I don't know. To be honest, I'm lucky to turn up to some games.
Now, we're going to jump into the serious questions first, start real heavy. Where are my boots you've been promising me?
No, I got some at home. I'll bring them over next time. I'll come around for a barbecue or something. But what size are you again?
11. Same
11.
size as you.
Yeah, I'll remember them next time.
Because I know playing for South Sydney is important and playing NRL is important, but I have a regional OzTag competition in North Sydney. That's very important.
And you bet you're heaps good at it too.
I'm the James Roberts of that competition.
You know, I've never met someone that's broken both their legs at once in a footy game.
Yeah, look.
Talk me through that.
A bit of context to that one. I was 14. I was still growing. And you know, my mum, you know her, I wasn't allowed chocolate milk. I wasn't allowed to drink any milk. I had no calcium when I was a kid, mate. So my legs broke. I remember when you broke my arm?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
What a stitch up that was. I remember that. It was last day of school, the last on a Friday.
I was a beast back then.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a Friday primary school, and I was going away to Stradbroke Island for the weekend. I remember, and we played a muck around game of footy, and I'm pretty sure it was a dog shot.
Nah. Knockout footy.
And you broke my arm.
Yeah, I know. I remember that, actually. You had a guard on there for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was Strady anyway?
Laid on the beach crying the whole time.
That's not like you.
Thanks for that, bro. Appreciate it. But can you believe where we're at? Like, you know, you're almost 10 years into your first grade career.
I know, man. I know. it's been a crazy journey at the moment, and it's been an up and down career, but
say the least.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting, to be honest. But it's been a good career so far. I guess it's been fun and doing something that I love doing. For work really is a dream come true and something that I've always wanted as a kid. And to see you come up through the ranks as well in your profession, and it's been that's something that I'm pretty proud to say that you're one of my closest mates that I grew up with since we were 10 years old, and you've been successful, and we work in the same sort of area, and I get to see you nearly every week and every second week at footy and that. So it's pretty crazy how the world works.
How does it go? Like, some of the other players look at you and go, it's weird that you're best mates with a journo. Like, you haven't had the best relationship with media probably throughout your career.
Definitely not. But it is weird. I think when I was speaking to a few of the boys about you and just talking to you and whatnot, and so, whether they can trust you and kind of things like that. They sort of took my word for it, and now I'm you've got a good relationship with a lot of the boys, and particularly the Indigenous boys. So it's always good to have a mate in the journalism kind of stuff, and doesn't stitch you up, I guess.
Nah, I won't do that. Despite I reckon if the roles were reversed, you'd probably stitch me up.
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
Do you? Just talking about when we were back at school and that, when you were young, and like you talked about your career, footy, and I guess how you want to make a career of it. When does it become apparent to you? Like, you were obviously very talented from a young age. We knew that, and we always used to. There was a joke like at school, it was like, James will either play first grade or he'll end up in jail. Yeah. Like, and thankfully,
your mum always said that. She still says that.
Yeah, and look,
I remember when I made my debut, she's like, "Thank God you made NRL because." Well, we thought you were going to go the other way, so lucky. Thanks for that, Kylie. So,
but like, when at what age? When do you start thinking, footy for me is going to be, this can be it. I have the talent to get there.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know if people can relate, but I think from an early age, I always sort of had that self-belief. And I had a really good role model in my uncle Amos Roberts, and I was always around at school holidays, and used to go to Roosters and St George train and Penrith, wherever he was playing at, from a young age, since I was like 8 years old or so. And I think, having him as a role model, sort of, I just wanted to be like him and do everything that he did. And I think as I got older, going through all the little rep teams and whatnot, and started to sort of gain a bit of confidence about myself, and continue that throughout my teenage years, and sort of fast tracked into first grade. So I think maybe around, I don't know, for me about 15, 16, I thought I had that self-belief that I was going to make it, and nothing was stopping me from making it. So I think that helped me get to where I am.
Do you appreciate kind of how talented, I guess, you are? Because growing up, probably hard work wasn't your strongest suit. Like you were given.
Kind of isn't.
No.
But I think for me, as I'm getting older now, I've got to sort of look after my body a lot more, and it gets harder as you get older, and I'm starting to feel it a little bit, towards the back end of my career, and compared to when I first come in, I was fresh. You didn't really, you could rock up the train and you didn't really get sore after games, and now it's sort of totally different, and and the game's a lot different as well. So I can definitely feel the difference between the game and the effects of the professionalism of the game as well.
What about your speed? Like, where do you feel that's at this point? Like, in terms of, you're obviously one of the quickest players in the game, but do you feel like it drops off? It's gotten quicker. Where are you at this point? Yeah,
at the moment I'm feeling good, but I'm not where I want to be at, I guess. it's sort of still got that little bit of a Achilles tendon issue, but it's a lot better than what it has been. And I've had that for about 3-4 years now, and last year was the worst I've ever had, and it's a lot better than last year for sure. But I think as far as my speed, it's something I always try and work on, but it's sort of something I don't really care about, to be honest.
As long as your whole life.
Yeah, I'm just sort of naturally gifted enough to sort of be fast enough to be in that top 3 in the team, and always, and so.
Yeah, that pisses me off. That pisses me off. Like, being an Aboriginal fella, like, you hope you're born with, you get the skinny calves.
Yeah.
You hope you're born with a bit of pace, and you got all of it, and I got...
My calves ain't that skinny.
Nah, they're all right, but mine are, and I didn't get the pace either to go with it.
You were top heavy, mate.
Yeah.
I remember you used to be a really good swimmer back in the day, so... that was the only thing you could beat me at in school, I think.
But it used to piss me off how close you'd get to me. Anyway, even because I train all the time, and you just jump in
every morning before school,
and you jump in, and the fast twitch fivers just get you there.
Yeah, I know. I always just made sure I got second place in every race so I could beat you for Junior Sportsman of the Year. But it's I'm pretty lucky to have my speed and my ability, I guess, and sort of you start appreciating it more as you get older.
We'll get back to the footy side things and get through to your debut and your footy career, how you've come through. But let's go back. I mean, when I met you, you're on the Gold Coast. You were 10 years old. You'd moved to the Gold Coast at that point. I guess, but you've had a kind of turbulent time in the first probably 10 years of your life leading you to come to the Gold Coast. Like, what was... from what you can remember, the earliest time in your life and moving around a bit?
Yeah, I think probably from a very young age, about 5 years old, I guess. I could remember sort of always moving around and sort of seeing the things that, kids shouldn't really see against, with domestic violence and kind of stuff like that. And, it was just a sort of toxic environment for a kid, and it had its times. Some of it was great, some of it was good, and I sort of got a bit of trauma from the age of 5 to 10. Sort of, I went over I think it was 10 different public schools, just from moving around between family, and we had problems within our family, and sort of just trying to escape that a bit, and we moved around a fair bit, I guess, and sort of had an effect on me and my sister and my siblings, I guess, and it sort of made me who I am, I guess, today. But I think as a kid it wasn't the most ideal environment to bring up, so I sort of try and change that cycle now with my kids, and make sure I sort of get that right, and don't want them seeing the same thing that I did. And
So when you say moving around, like you live with a lot of different family members, probably from 5 to 10, aunties, uncles, cousins.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're an Indigenous person, you'd understand. But I live with a lot of aunties, uncles, my nan, my pop, at all different periods of my life. Some for 6 months, some for a year, some for over a year. And I still, I was close to a lot of my aunties and uncles for that reason as well. And my family's pretty close. And all my cousins, sort of like Tyron Roberts and all that, would always be hanging out around, especially around Christmas, holidays, and kind of stuff like that. And we always used to stay at each other's houses and look after each other, and all go through similar stuff. So your first cousins and stuff, second cousins, you all became brothers and sisters. So that's whenever I introduce one of my cousins or something, I always just say they're my brother and that. And just because of the experiences and the stuff that we've shared together and along our journeys, just bring us close. And we've been through a lot.
What's that like? I mean, as a 10-year-old or younger, like I can't relate. I grew up in a great household with parents around that looked after me, and I guess it's something you've got to kind of digest at such a young age. And I know a lot of kids do. A lot of Indigenous kids, as you said, can go through this, especially. Like what's it like to kind of process this before you've really been taught anything else?
Yeah, it's I guess when you're younger, you don't really think about it. You just survive. You just do what you got to do and to get through, and you just look out for your siblings and just keep on keeping on, I guess. And like I said, survive. But I think it had a lot of effects on me as I got to my teenage years. I had a lot of anger, a lot of hate in my heart, just angry at the world, and just thought, I was just, I didn't know. I was a very confused teenager and a very angry person, and didn't really care about myself at some stage. So, it was, I struggled at some stages through my life to sort of cope with that, and made a lot of silly decisions as a kid, and sort of a lot of things that I regret doing, but it was all a learning curve, I guess.
So it's just we'll get to that. So you lived on the Gold. So then you've ended up on the Gold Coast. So you're 10 years old. You probably lived there for probably 3 years, 2 years until the end of primary school.
Yep.
And then you've moved on and moved back to Sydney.
Yep.
So basically you've gone back and then you've moved in with your Uncle Amos.
Yeah.
So those were kind of stable years, I guess.
Yeah, so I lived on the Goldie for 3 years. I was, always at. It was like a fresh start for me. I love my new school. I met you. Met Semi Short. He's one of our other best mates now, and we had some good times. We were at each other's houses every second week or so. Every weekend. We'd just play footy. Play touch, Oztag. What else we do? We go to the beach.
I just wanted to get out of my house.
I used to come to my house to eat chocolates and shit. And
wherever I wasn't getting told to do 5 hours of homework a night, I'm out.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what. Used to come to your house. We couldn't drink any milk, or we just had to drink water and shit. But other than that, that was some fun weekends and moments to cherish for my life. And your mum and dad, like parents for me as well at some stage. I was there every weekend as well. Same as Shorty's mum. She took me in, and was over his house as well a fair bit. So, but after those 3 years, something sort of happened to me towards the end of that, and so I won't get into it today, but it sort of affected me big time, and
just a betrayal of trust of someone you trusted, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it sort of rattled me a bit, and it sort of threw me in a sort of downward spiral of and it's like everything that I've done over the last 3 years just sort of thrown in the bin, and I immediately packed up and left within a week or two, and of the incident, and then rang my Uncle Amos up and asked if I could live with him, because when I was growing up, he always said I could live with him when I got into high school, and I just got accepted in the PBC, Palm Beach Currumbin with you, and it was sort of, it all happened unexpectedly. You didn't really know what happened as well, and I didn't really talk about it for a long time.
Yeah.
For years, I guess, and I just packed up and left, and my uncle said, come live with me, and he was playing with the Roosters at the time, and I went back and lived with him, and that was a hard year to get through, that first year in Sydney. I think just adapting to new mates, new school, new system, and I felt alone the whole year. I remember get home from school and I'd just like cry in my bedroom by myself, and just 'cause I miss you and just all my mates, and everything I got used to over the last 3 years. So, but I knew I couldn't go back. So, that was a hard year, that one.
Was it just, of all the things you kind of felt like you've been dealt, crappy hands in life in your early years, and things start to go well, and then there's another, kind of boot, and then it's like, why me again? There's a bit of that when he's like,
yeah, for sure, man. That's pretty much what it felt like. It was just felt betrayal, but I haven't had the worst life in the world. I know cousins that have had even worse lives than me. You know what I mean? It's crazy to even think of that, and I think it's ridiculous. Like that people have, my life's been pretty good compared to others that I know, and but yeah, like what I've been through is pretty shit for a kid to go through, and teenager as well. So, but yeah, like I said, it's all a learning curve, and it's made me who I am today. And if I could change a few things, I would, but not too much, because I wouldn't be the person I am. And but yeah, after sort of settling in after the first year, I started beginning to make new friends and started playing with Lapras Panthers, and started finding my feet at school as well. So I went to just a normal co-ed school in JJ Carl Memorial High in Mascot for years 7 and 8, which was just a normal high school, no sports, nothing. So I just sort of focused on my schoolwork, and made some good friends on the weekends with footy, and I got a lot of good close mates now that I'm still really close with from there. So, but it was a bit of a weird journey, I guess, from my teenage years.
So, but then Amos took off overseas, didn't he? And probably up until that point, before you debuted for South Sydney, probably 16, 17, that's probably where you got yourself in the most kind of probably trouble, like with the law-wise, just things you would do, just out running around, kind of had no kind of restrictions on what you were doing, where you were, and you're old enough to kind of know what the world is now, and go out and, have that kind of freedom, right?
Yeah, for sure. My uncle was really hard on me. When I moved in with him, I used to have to be home by 5 o'clock before the streetlights on, otherwise I'd get hiding. And I'd get home, I have to do my homework and all that kind of stuff. And he gave me a routine and discipline that I was missing. And he was like a father figure. He always has been, but and I respected him a lot, and I idolized him. So I did sort of whatever he wanted and whatever he said, and he sort of led by example anyway. So I had a real good, stable first 2 years. Once I got used to that, he got offered a 3-year deal with Wigan Warriors over in Super League, and he wanted me to go with him, but I sort of just started making new friends again. I didn't want to start all over, and because I know what that felt like again. I didn't want to, start making new friends. I knew no one over there. It would have been just us, and I was sort of a bit scared of that. So I said I'll just stay in Australia and move in with my nan in Kingsgrove. So I lived with my nan for a few years, but once my uncle moved away, I sort of bounced between mates' houses on the weekends and just went home, changed my clothes, and then I'd just stay at mates' houses, and just pretty much, like Tyrone Phillips from the Penrith Panthers and all that kind of boys, and we had some good nights, always out roaming around at night, and had no one telling me what to do anyway. So I used to float between. They used to have to go home. Sometimes I'd just be floating around between who could stay out the longest with, between my mates. So, I sort of went through a period there where I was doing a lot of different crazy, stupid shit. A lot of stuff that, I have a lot of regret about, and I could never do that these days. And, I think I just didn't really care at that point in time about my life, and that sort of made me a bit reckless, I guess. I struggled to cope once my uncle left, and I used to just act, put on a big act like I was happy and all that kind of stuff, but I sort of didn't know where I belonged. I had my aunties, a lot of aunties and uncles in Sydney that I used to, sometimes vent to and go between, but I'd always just go off wondering again. And yeah, it was sort of just all over the joint, really.
Was that you touched on before, that anger you said you talked about? You had that anger in your heart, like you're angry and you're young and you're confused at that age, right? And that's leading you to act out in these different ways, right? You're doing things you shouldn't because you don't know any better and you're pissed off, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I was, like I said, I didn't really care what happened to me. At that point in my life, I just had like a ruthless mentality where I just did stupid shit and without thinking, and I got in a bit of trouble with the law when I was younger, but nothing too serious. I never really got caught for any serious stuff. It was all petty shit, thankfully, but I was a bit lucky, but I was lucky I had footy as well to sort of keep me a bit on the straight and narrow, and once I sort of realised, I could seriously make it within the next year or two. I think it would have been about when I was 17, and I played my first grade trial, the return to Redfern, I remember, and I think I scored a hat-trick, and but I was just like, I just played footy. It wasn't like it was my way of sort of getting away from the world, and I just enjoyed what I did, and I think when I have that mindset, I play my best footy and I just enjoy it, and nothing worries me outside of footy. It was sort of once I started sort of realising, and I was getting really like fast track through 20s at 17, and then I got thrown into first grade.
Do you remember that hype? Do you remember? Because I remember it. Like, I remember you scored a couple of 110-metre tries in the 20s and that, and you were, probably 17, 16 at that point. And, like, people were talking about this kid, this Roberts kid, you got to see him. Like, do you remember those feeling like, that you got that feeling soon, like this is going to be sooner rather than later?
Yeah, it was... Yeah, I was 17 and I got thrown in the 20s, and we had a really good side that year. I played with Adam Reynolds and Kane Morgan and Nathan Peets and stuff like that, Matty Mundine. We had a really good side, and a lot of first graders. But yeah, I scored a lot of pretty good tries in that. My first, I think it was 8 games when I was 17, and then when I was 18, the first 6 rounds, I think I scored I just kept scoring a couple of doubles and triples. I was in a bit of a purple patch with scoring, and I was just killing it, really. To be honest, I don't know how, but it was just happening for me, really.
It's form. It's just rolls for you.
Everything was just falling into place, and and I remember Johnny Lang brought me in. He goes, "Oh, how do you feel about playing first grade?" I go, "Oh yeah, just gave him the old, it'd be really good, hopefully I'll be able to get in there." He goes, "Nah, mate, like, you're playing this weekend." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." He started laughing, and I sort of shit myself then, and like, I was like, "Fuck, am I ready then?" And I started doubting myself a bit, and I got a bit nervous, but I was, at the same time, I was excited. I sort of, I was there. I told myself all these years that I was going to make it, and nothing would stop me, and there it is. So I remember leaving the training paddock and walking home to the train station, and I rang my mum on the way and told her, and she was a bit scared. She wasn't too sure whether I was ready or not, but I just said, I was excited, and the whole week I was just thinking about, because I debuted at fullback. I think Reece Wessel got dropped that week, and I debuted at fullback, and all I remember was just, I hope I don't drop the first bomb they put up, because I know they will. And I remember my very first 20s touch, they put they kicked off to me, and I was playing fullback as well, and I dropped it off the kickoff, my very first touch, and then so that was playing through my head. So I come in day before the game, and I was just catching bombs for the first hour of the morning, and then just went home. And I was just visualising it all morning, and then the first thing they done was put a bomb up, and I remember Josh Morris jumped up, or one of the Morris brothers, and I jumped up above it and then caught it perfectly, and just the way I've been training. So once I caught that, sort of all my nerves just went, and sort of felt a bit of the physicality difference, and it was just faster really. I was just like, is that it? Like, you play knockouts and stuff like that, it's heaps rougher than
especially
NRL.
when you're a first grade player in the knockout.
Yeah, you sort of got a target on your head there. It's pretty fun, but you get to give it back to them. But so that was sort of how that all went down, I guess.
Like, I guess you're out there, like, and you're 18, but like, you're 18 years old. It's not many people do it anymore. Like, I think they've even bumped the age up now. I think you've got to be 18 to debut now. Like, yeah. I can't imagine what it's like. I remember it seemed so long ago, and you're out there playing against these guys. Like, yeah, I guess mentally, how do you kind of deal with it? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It was sort of like I was really nervous. I couldn't stop thinking about it. My anxiety was through the roof that week. But I remember speaking to people like you and Sammy, and sort of, they just said just enjoy it, and just how proud they are of me, and and just back yourself really, and just just do your best. That's what you can do. So, but I remember it was a pretty crazy week, that one. So it was very exciting, and we'll never forget it.
How's your eyesight back then? Because I know your eyes shot now, and you talk about those bombs going up. Like, yeah. Was it up in the air and you're blurry and you can't see it, and you're going, oh shit? Yeah,
I was actually I when I was coming through the juniors, I played fullback, I guess, and I really enjoyed it. But I think as I got a couple of years in, I had trouble at night times seeing, and it'd just be blurry until like the last 20 metres. It would be just in front of you, just sort of pop out.
It's not ideal.
Clear up a bit, yeah. So it's pretty ideal that I play centre now. I don't really have to worry about that.
You don't have to run as much either, which is good.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not really fit enough for that anymore. So
we talk about it. A couple of the boys were like, yeah, James is like a cheater. Like, cheaters they got one big effort in them, like that day. Like, they chase the prey and they do it real fast, but if they don't get it, they're just gassed.
Yeah.
And like, that's you, mate. Like, your body chews up a heap of fuel just getting that speed going, and then it's like, and then that's your run too. Your run always, people always go, oh, he looks to me like he's unfit, and I go, nah, he runs like I don't even know, like he's slouched over, he walks slouched over.
Yeah, I've got shit posture.
Yeah, right. He's had it his whole life. It doesn't look like the best body language, but he's had it his whole life.
Yeah. Nah, yeah.
Well, let's just move. Like, so say you played first grade now, you play for South, and you think, this is it. Like, I love South Sydney. I want to stay here. I'd imagine. You're happy you debuted there, and then how many games was it before things went sideways? Probably with South. Like, how many games did you get through?
I played the majority of the. Once I debuted, I was sort of just in every week. Sometimes I'd get dropped for a week because I'd show up to training half drunk and shit like that, and
just dumb stuff.
Yeah, so if you did that these days, you'd be sacked. Like, the club would just get rid of you. So they're a bit more lenient, even when I was coming through. But compared to now, so I could imagine one of the young blokes doing it now, they'd be gone. So
I remember I went down to watch you play. I remember I was at uni, and like, I don't like to miss any of your games, but I went down to the stairs of this bar. James was playing tonight, and then they're like, the announcers were on. They're like, oh, and James Roberts left out of the team tonight for disciplinary reasons. And I was like,
yeah,
what's he done?
Yeah,
what's he done?
Yeah,
was that probably it? Just rocking up to training.
Yeah, there's a couple of funny stories there, but yeah, I think I sort of enjoyed my first couple of weeks in first grade a bit too much, and got on a drink a fair bit when I shouldn't have, and led me to that. And like I said, I was still a bit all over the shop. I was just lucky enough to get a crack and be playing first grade majority of the back end of the year, and in and out really. I got dropped I think twice, 3 times for the same thing. Same thing, but I think that, and then after that we signed Michael Maguire, and
no, he's not going to cop that.
Yeah, so that didn't really last long there after that.
Madge is not known for going light.
Yeah, he's pretty ruthless, but it's good, man. Like, it sort of, taught me a lesson, and like I said, it's all a learning curve, and I still probably didn't learn from that. It took me a couple more years after that.
A couple more chances, but
but it was one of the lessons anyway.
Yeah, you're lucky you're talented, eh?
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky, to be honest, but
yeah. So you played that on and off that season,
yeah,
and then
I got a couple of knee clean outs. Come back, was going through pre-season, then I had another had trouble with my left knee, and I sort of just put on a fair bit of weight as well, and I struggled to sort of get back into the squad again after when I was 19, and I was playing in for North Sydney Bears in New South Wales Cup, and I was floating between there and 20s, and sort of wasn't enjoying it because I wasn't where I was and wasn't where I thought I should have been, but so I struggled with that part of not being where I thought I should have been, but I think I just had the wrong mindset and just needed to work harder, I guess, and then so I had another incident there at Souths, and Madge sort of just told me, you can go and look elsewhere now. So, and then I think within the next 2 days or so, I met up with a few clubs and signed with Penrith. Met up with Ivan and Gus out in Penrith, and sort of done a deal out there for 3 years, I think, and I got through about 2 years out there. And
I just want to talk about Gus real quick, because Gus Gould always says, if I wrote a book about rugby league, and imagine Gus has a lot of stories and a lot of players he's seen over the years, but he says James Roberts would get a couple of chapters just on his own. Just of all the players Gus has had to deal with and work with and I guess look after, you stand out in his mind and as someone that he really cares for, but it's obviously helped a lot. Why do you think you stand out in Gus's head?
I'm not sure, but I got along really well with Gus, and he took me in out there, and he looked after me a lot, and he done a lot for me out there, and I've got a lot of time for Gus. He tried to help me sort of break that cycle of that old me, I guess. He saw I needed help, and he done his best he could for me out there, and he's a lot like Wayne, I guess, and he's a very good people's person, and I think he's really good with like Indigenous players as well. I feel like he's got a good relationship with his players out there as well, not just Indigenous, but I think he's been around long enough and he's seen everything. I think he's one of my favourite people in rugby league. Him and Wayne will be up there, and we still keep in touch whenever we see each other, and that we have a good yarn. And he's helped me with a lot of things. He used to get me out to communities a fair bit out there, and learn to talk about my story, and sort of help develop me into sort of realising that I could be a good role model, I guess. That was probably the start of that kind of stuff. And going out to communities, and people will come up and thank me for sharing my story and stuff like that, and sort of gave me a bit more confidence to tell my story as well. And he's been really good for me, Gus. And
when you say he's doing things for you, like what does he do? What is it? Is he out? Basically, you can call him any time of night. You're in trouble. He'll come and get you. Like, is he? What does Gus specifically do? He's just so hands on. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. And like when I was out there, like I always felt like I could, you could ring him up and tell him. He used to rock up to my house unannounced and just like I'd do a knock at the door, and he'd just be like, just walk in and he goes, no, just checking up on you, making sure you're right. And then stuff like that. He just showed that he cares, and he just put time into it, I guess, and you sort of just want to be a better person for him, similar to the type of effects that Wayne has.
Yeah. So what's that like for you? Like, obviously someone in your entire life who probably hasn't had the most stable kind of people there for you at different times in your life, and to have someone like us, actually, like, this guy properly cares about what happens to me. What's that like for someone who hasn't had that their entire life?
Yeah, I think sort of being neglected at stages in your life as a kid, and then when people show you time, you sort of appreciate it a lot more, and you genuinely, I guess, for my personal experiences, people that show a lot of interest in me, I show a lot back, and I'm able to trust them, I guess, and I think that's sort of how me and Gus created a good relationship, and obviously with Wayne and stuff like that, so I can talk to Wayne about anything, and he knows when something's up just from my body language, because we've been together for a number of years now. I've been playing underneath him, and he's he knows when he doesn't even have to talk to me. He'll just look at me and my body language, and he'll know he'll just pull me to the side and ask if I'm all good, and I can just be straight up with him and tell him what's going on. So
let's talk about Wayne then. So things happen at Penrith. Obviously, it doesn't work out the way you wanted to. You've moved on from there. Probably only played 10 games with Penrith or something, or
I'm not too sure. I think it was
off the top of my head. I think
10.
Maybe
I don't know. So over 10 games.
You end up on the Gold Coast. You end up probably playing the best footy of your life, and we'll get back to that. But just I'll talk about Wayne Bennett. You ended up to play on the Gold Coast. Something happens with your contract. You're in Brisbane. Like, what about Wayne Bennett? When's your first dealing with Wayne Bennett? When does he become a factor in your life, and how does it all play out?
Yeah, I remember the day. I met with a few clubs and coaches, and at the time my contract was null and void, and I was a free agent to go looking elsewhere, and I just won Centre of the Year at Gold Coast, and I just gave them opportunity to table me a deal, and they didn't really come back with anything that was sort of good for me and my family. So we went on the open market and started meeting with other teams, and I met with about six different clubs, and then I met with Broncos one day, and Wayne's just sitting there with his legs crossed at the end of the table, and he's just like, I was talking to Paul White, and Paul White introduces himself and all those kind of stuff, and he goes, "Oh, just tell me about yourself," Wayne said. So I started rattling on about my footy, and I started at South and this and that, and went to Penrith. He goes, No, I don't want to know about that. He goes, we know you can play footy. Yeah, you're not here. You wouldn't be here if you wasn't. But I want to know about you. Tell me about yourself. I want to know about your life. And then from there on, that was the first time a coach or anyone really sort of just wanted to know about my life, I guess. So, and taking an interest in my life from there on. So, and then I started telling him sort of the shorter version of my life story, I guess, and and then he just said, well, he goes, there's no doubt you can play footy, you wouldn't be here, but one thing I can guarantee, you know, if you decide to come here, is I'll make you a better person and a better father. I just had, you know, my partner was pregnant, and the footy will follow. And then I think that just stuck with me, and then I knew deep down I just wanted to be a better person, and I was a bit all over the joint now, and I don't know, it just felt right. And as soon as we got out of the meeting, I just said, yeah, Broncos it is. He goes, you know, we're not going to be able to match what other people were willing to give, which was true, but I didn't really care at that time. I sort of had someone that sort of, from day one, from the very first second that I met him, they just wanted to know about my life and took interest. And like I said before, I sort of gravitate to people like that. And I sort of built that trust over the years now, and I trust him with my life.
Because we've seen that with other guys like Darius Boyd and that, you know, and they talk about Wayne Bennett as though, you know, we in the media, I see a completely different side to Wayne than you obviously see.
Yeah.
I can imagine. But, like, I guess, what do you think makes him tick like that? Why does he care? What do you think it was about you, I guess, that he saw and so I can look after these guys, that he takes a special shining to guys like Darius, you, that have had tough lives?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think just his experience with so many players, and like I said, even same as Gus, they've seen it all. They've been around, you know, when back in the days, I'm sure they did a lot more looser things than they do these days, you know, so behind closed doors. So, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. He's just really good with his players, and he just tries to make you a better person before anything. And I think you sort of he lets you know that, and then you get that vibe, and you just want to play for him, and you don't want to let him down, and makes you accountable for your actions. And well, that's sort of how I feel anyway. So, you know, you just don't want to let him down, and just, you know, and your family down, I guess.
So, I guess we've the undercurrent of all this kind of thing in your life is, with all this stuff going on, you're moving clubs and coaches and stuff, you know, and you're playing good footy at different stages and really enjoying it. But the undercurrent, I guess, is alcohol and your relationship with alcohol. And I guess, because I know it came to a head when you're at the Broncos and you went off to rehab, and Wayne was a big part of that. Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with alcohol, do you think, throughout your kind of your teenage and adult life? Yeah,
I think obviously from, you know, teenage years, since my uncle sort of moved to England, I sort of, you know, started experimenting with alcohol and all that shit. So, and it sort of just got out of hand and become a bad habit and then addiction, I guess. So, I think when you've experienced stuff like I've had, I think it's very toxic to be for anyone really that has had bad experiences in their life, to be, especially drinking alcohol and hasn't dealt with their personal life, especially from a young age. You know, like it just brings up, you know, all the negative things in your life eventually, and it all just hits you at once, and you sort of, you know, some people can cope with it, some don't so well, and I'm one of those people that just lose their shit, I guess. And you know, if my life ain't stable and I'm drinking more than I should, or drinking in general, you know, it's poison, man. It's no good for you anyway. But you know, nothing good comes from it. But especially when you've had some bad experiences in your life, it sort of brings up, you can hide away from it for a certain amount of time, and then it just sort of hits you all at once and sort of sends you off on a different road.
Because that's the thing, like, when you talk about all these things that are happening in your life, undercurrent of that is, you've got anxiety, depression at times probably, and you're making them worse with alcohol. Like, how bad have those things gotten for you at different times?
Yeah, they gotten really bad. There's times where I just, didn't want to live at some stage, and a couple of times, and the alcohol and all those other things didn't help. So, and lucky I had Wayne and a great club like the Broncos that really supported me and stuck behind me, sent me off to rehab, and I come back so fresh, and I went 12 months without anything, like not a drop, and I felt so fresh mentally. I never felt like that before, and I felt, I played really good, had a really good year after that, and then the following year I played Origin as well. So so obviously everyone's better without alcohol, but it's the generation we live in and the society we live in where it's sort of the norm, I guess. But if I can give any advice, if you're having a bit of problems and dealing with personal issues, alcohol's not your option you want to go down, I guess.
I remember when you played Origin, there was this great article that went around, and it was quoted. Your partner Anna was quoted in it, and she spoke, and Wayne Bennett spoke to a journalist about your career and just kind of how you got to where you are. And there was this quote that said, I think it was like, if you don't help him, what she said to Wayne Bennett, if you don't help him, he's going to end up dead. And Wayne Bennett said the same thing. He said James's greatest achievement is not playing football or playing State of Origin. It's the fact that he's not rotting away in some jail cell, or he's 6 feet under. Like, and is like, when you hear that, what does that make you think? And when you think back to those times in your life? Yeah,
like, I think from when you look at their, I don't really look at, that's from their perspective, and you sort of, I don't know, you sort of reflect on it. Now that you're saying it, like, I remember being in those type of situations where I didn't care about that, and yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to have such a good support team around me, like my partner and Wayne and the Broncos at that time, and now at Souths. That I'm not where they said I could have been, and I'm pretty content and happy with where I'm at, and I've got 2 beautiful kids now, and that's sort of my priority these days, and footy's come second.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned your kids, right? I think Anna said that to me once. She said, Jack, if he didn't have these kids, like, I don't know where he'd be. Talk to me about your kids, like being a father yourself after obviously growing up, having probably an up and down relationship with your own parents. How does that make being a father? Does it make it tougher? Does it make it better?
Yeah, it sort of, at times it does, because you don't, like, I don't know, it's sort of like, it's hard to try and be something that wasn't always there, with my mum and dad, so I was always with aunties and uncles as well, so, but I had plenty of father figures as well, but my father, me and him have a really good relationship, as I got older, and, he's been great with my kids, and, he's had his own personal issues that he's had to deal with, and my mum as well. So, and I don't blame them for how anything that I've had to experience, or that I've had to experience. They've had their own problems, and they dealt with it the way they dealt with it, and it's all in the past, and we're here now, and my parents, I get along good with both my parents, and I've forgiven them for everything that's, ever happened to me. So, and I think that's the big key to moving forward is if you got to be able to forgive and move on if you want to build a relationship with them. If you want to build a relationship with them, so my mum and dad are like the best grandparents you could ask for. My dad loves it. We're back in foster like nearly every weekend now, and my son just absolutely idolises him and loves him and loves spending time with him, and so does my daughter, and same with their grandmother as well. So they live a bit further away now that we're down in Sydney, so we sort of used to see mum every weekend and drive down to the Gold Coast with my brothers and that. And now it's driving back up the foster with my dad and stuff. So no, my kids really enjoy the time with my parents, and so do I. It's sort of catching up on lost time, and it's just good to see my dad be the way he used to be with me when I was a kid, with my son. It's sort of and my mum as well. So like with my daughter and that. And so it's sort of I just sit there and just watch them, and it sort of just makes me really happy, and I enjoy them spending time with with my parents. So.
What's it like being a father? Like for your young fella's cheeky, and your little girl, she looks exactly like you. Like
poor thing.
She'll grow into it. Hopefully, she comes out more like her mother than you. It's honestly the greatest achievement that I've had in my life, and it's better than anything that I've achieved in footy. I get to sort of I'm still learning to be a father, but it's really exciting, and just their personalities, the way they change, and some of the shit that they come up with is pretty funny and just cracks you up. And it's amazing how they pick up some of your habits and just the way they do things. That reminds you of yourself as well. So it's pretty It's hard to explain, man. It's crazy, but but I love coming home every day after training, and even if I had a shit day at training or whatever, and my kids cheer me up every day and make life great again. So you named your firstborn boy Kirk, and it was after your brother Kirk, and I think one of the great kind of images that kind of stuck with a lot of people back in 2015 when you were playing at Titans and you won Centre of the Year. You took your brother Kirk, who has muscular dystrophy, to the Dally M's.
Yep.
And I know you've spoken about it before. He's in a wheelchair and he has a lot of issues because of that disease. Like, I guess, what's it like, you being born so athletically gifted, and then your brother has this, terrible disease that affects his muscles and affects what he can do. What's that kind of cruel irony like to deal with?
Yeah, it was hard. I knew from a young age, and sort of just watched it all pan out. But it's very emotional for myself to see it all happen and unfold as I grew up. But he gave me a lot of strength, and I did a lot of it for him, to be honest. When I was at my lowest, I'd just look, and I'd be playing footy, and I'd just do stupid shit and be ungrateful, and then I'd just think of my brother and what he'd do to be in my position, and it sort of kept me going. And I dedicated my career to him, and I still do. I probably wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for my brother. Sort of, he's my heart and soul. So all my siblings are, but he's got a special place in my heart. He's such a loving person. He's got the best heart. He's always happy no matter what. he's always got a smile on his face, and given the circumstances he's been through, and he's just he's a lot stronger person than what I am, that's for sure. And I sort of just, it's sort of hard to talk about, but no, I really love him dearly, and I know.
How do you think it makes him feel watching you play and watching you achieve what you've achieved?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I haven't really. I just, whenever I remember when everything I do, whenever I see him after like a big game or an award or something, I always tell him that it was for him, because it is, and I write his name on my wrist every game because I think of him every game, and sort of try and, I know he'd do anything that, he'd love to be in my position, so I always remember that and always try and make sure I make the most of it these days, before every game. So
is that why you? I'm always sitting in the sheds afterwards and waiting for you to come through, and you're always the last one, kind of in the sheds, and you sit there and you go around and you see the kids, and you take honestly a good hour after the game's done, and you're out seeing kids, getting photos, and I've seen photos with you with young kids that are, in wheelchairs, and they're like, Jimmy, can I get a photo? I was like, is it? And you spend so much time out there. Is that a big part of that?
Yeah, I think you got to give back, and I guess I've got a soft spot for especially people with disabilities. Obviously, my brother being one of them, so I always make sure I make time for everyone. But as soon as I sort of see those special needs people that need a bit more attention, I'll make sure they're my priority before anyone, and then I'll see whoever else, whoever's in the sheds. But I think you just got to sort of just be grateful for where you're at and what you're doing for a living. I guess it's better than your average job, and you just got to give your time back to the fans, I guess.
Who does he go for, Kirk? Like, does he go for a team or he just goes for you?
No, he's a diehard and always has been, always will be, I think. Melbourne Storm fan.
A Melbourne Storm fan?
Diehard.
Why?
I don't know. I've tried to change his mind for years, but he won't budge. But I don't know.
Is there a player?
I think because they keep going so well.
Oh, so he's a bandwagon.
No, because if they dropped off after all the big names, retired, but they keep, making grand finals and semi prelims, so they're still a good side, and I think that's why he just sticks with them, and he's pretty loyal. So
you can't sway him to South Sydney.
Nah, I think every team that I've played for has been his second team, so I'll cop that.
So you're back at South now. Long journey, round trip, won a 20s grand final there. No, sorry, you won the 20s grand final at Penrith, but you started at South.
Yep.
And you've kind of backed around, and you're now in this team that's full of, Indigenous boys. Like, it's you got Latrell there, Cody, a couple of other guys, Dan Gagai. Like, what is it about being an Indigenous man and South Sydney? Why do those two things work so well together, and why do you guys always want to be there together?
Yeah, I think there's a really good vibe at the moment at the club, especially with a lot of Indigenous boys, but even the non-Indigenous boys, they're all good blokes. A lot of the younger boys have got really old heads on them and very professional, and it makes everyone sort of a bit more accountable as well, and sort of carry themselves in a different way, and sort of that's what we want to drive around the club. But yeah, obviously having more Indigenous players than I think we've ever had, that any club that I've had, It's funny as all we do is laugh in the sheds.
You speak a second language, I reckon. Like you guys, people could sit there with you guys and have no idea what you're talking about, and you're pissing yourself like hyenas.
Yeah, probably pretty much. That's pretty much how it sounds in the sheds. We always laugh, and I think Big Tro, he's loving it. He's loving being at Souths, and he's slotted in really well, and he's enjoying his time at Souths, and he's always laughing, and he seems really happy. So I'm looking forward to seeing him evolve into the player that I know he can be, and being a great fullback.
You're talking about, I guess, Trell and just being an Indigenous player in the game these days. It's different now, right? It's there was probably a time where guys were just happy to play footy and just get along and just worry on their careers. And now it's like there's guys that are just like, well, we're not going to sit back and just take this shit anymore. We're going to use our platform to help change for our people. Like it's different now, isn't it?
Yeah,
probably from when you started.
Yeah, easily. I think the new crop of players we got now are a lot more staunch, I guess, and a lot more outspoken, I guess, about what we believe in and what we do and don't like, instead of just copping it and just getting on with our jobs, like you said, and just being happy to be there. We want to teach our mob that we're proud and and what we stand for and our beliefs and stand up for what's right, I guess, and not being embarrassed to talk about it and call it out. So, and that's with all different type of topics, but and also just being more outspoken and in a positive way as well, and confident for young Indigenous people and non-Indigenous, but just leading the way and showing them just to be confident about themselves and stand up for what you believe in, and anything's possible if you put your mind to it. So,
and you go out now, and you talk about this to Indigenous kids, and I guess this is a big part of doing this podcast as well. Is just if you can tell your story and then tell other kids and people, Indigenous people especially, to hear what you have to say and about your story. And if I can go through this, you can do it, and be proud to be a black fella these days. It's no matter what people say. Yeah,
for sure. A big message, especially because I know a lot of my relatives, even young Indigenous kids, they get into trouble and they think that's the only life they can follow. But you can always change, and I did it, and you don't have to be a footy star. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. Like yourself, you're a journo, and you love it, and as long as you do something that you enjoy, and it's legal, I guess. But yeah, you just need to just try and be a good role model for your younger siblings or your family, I guess, and your people. And that's what we're trying to teach our younger generation, and that's what I'm trying to teach my younger brothers and my cousins and our people as well, non-Indigenous and Indigenous. Let's just be a better person and just appreciate what you got.
Bros, we could talk for hours about your story, and I feel like, even though we've scraped the surface of, what you've been through in your life, but it's, credit to yourself and how hard you've worked to be here and all the things you've been through, and you're a kind of beacon of resilience for a lot of Indigenous kids. And I think if they hear that and they hear your story, it's positive and it's inspiring. So thanks for talking to me today. I want to finish off, but we're just going to have a little quick fire fun round of, I'm going to shoot some questions at you, and you're just going to, off the top of your head, first thing comes to your head, go for it. Player you hated versing most in your career?
Player I hated having to come up against Marnie Vadavoy in my first year.
Manu Vatuvai.
Yeah.
The beast.
The beast. He was massive, and I was only like a little skinny 80 kilo winger, so I had to come up against him. It was a bit scary.
I know watching you over the years, what I've watched, and when I'm watching your games, if I know you're playing Jared Croker, I'm like, Jared Croker is just, he gets in his face. Like he's defensively so good, he just gets up and he knows he's not going to get beat by you. Like that's his goal in the game. He's like, I'm not going to get beat by this bloke. I don't care what else happens.
Yeah, he's been a pretty good little grudge match. That he always turns up, and he's been one of the most, consistent players over the last couple of years. So he's a quality player, and he always seems like he's always got like a little grudge match against me, but we'll see what happens this year.
What about Trell, that game? You remember that game? You know the game I'm talking about? At Suncorp.
Yeah, sort of at the start it was good, but once we could become close, it was hard to sort of, I don't know, it was like my little brother, so it was sort of like, I don't know, we always wanted to like go hard, but
in that game, you guys weren't. You weren't.
Before that,
you didn't really know each other then.
Yeah. So I was like, "Fuck this," and he done me out the first half, and I was like, "Fuck this." I walked in, and I was like, filthy at myself. The people were trying to give me wet towels and shit, and sit down. I was like, "Fuck off! Don't talk to me." And I walked over and sat next by myself for a little bit, and just sort of told myself to sort of calm down and just reset And thankfully I did that, and got him back in the second half, and sort of good game to always watch.
Well, I remember that game. Yeah, it was a total flip around. First half, he
still
torched
talk about it muck around.
He torched you, and then and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, I can't watch this."
Yeah.
And then second half, you just rattled him.
Yeah,
it was just it probably got both of his pick for Origin, and
I think I'd say so. It was a pretty good grudge match, that one. I always remember that one.
What about Celebrity Crush?
Celebrity Crush. What, now or when I was younger?
Oh, give me both.
When I was younger, I was obsessed with like Eva Mendes.
Eva Mendes, yeah.
She's a glamour. But
now?
Now? Now.
No one springs to mind?
No, Margot Robbie's pretty good.
Margot Robbie, yeah. I had a debate the other day at work. Someone tried to tell me, yeah, she's all right, and I was like, you get out of here. I'll fight you. Yeah,
I was like,
it was on TV the other night. It was on TV the other night, and I was like, you're kidding.
Yeah, seriously. After that. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know.
You know she's a Gold Coast girl, right?
Yeah.
We missed her by that much.
Yeah.
Like just
you had no chance.
A couple of things. I said all the time, so a couple of things went my way. Just bumped into her on the Gold Coast. we could have lived happily ever after.
Mate, she wouldn't touch you.
Yeah, she'd pretty stupid. 3 things you can't live without.
My kids, my partner, and rugby league. Oh, my family, obviously. Has that all come into one?
Count them as one, yeah. Family's one.
Yeah. My family, rugby league, and my mates.
Last $50, what are you spending on? And don't say you're putting it through the pokies.
Nah. Last $50?
Yeah.
Food, I guess, for my family.
No.
What else
item of joy. Whatever you want to.
An item of joy?
Yeah.
Item of joy.
Surely
that's a hard one.
Fishing rod or something.
No. A fishing rod for $50, it'd be pretty shitty.
I don't know. I don't fish.
That won't give you much.
I don't have the patience to fish.
I don't know. $50?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably go Macca's.
Yeah, Macca's.
I know you would.
Please. I'm my body's a temple, mate. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, heaps.
Ultimate day off.
Ultimate day off?
Yeah. If you're not training, what's the ultimate thing you'd do for your day off?
Just Best day off is probably, I don't know, when I'm just spending time with my kids, I guess.
You love going back to Foster and that, don't you?
Yeah, weekend off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get back there whenever I can, and sort of we get on Trell's farm and round up some cattle and that, and sort of getting into that now. So
That's right. You told me about this yesterday. Cattle.
yeah,
You want to get into buying cattle and
yeah, we're sort of just starting off. Me and Latrell, and sort of just want to start breeding some cattle, and it's sort of like a new hobby that we've got going. And he's got 500 acres up there, and so we're just sort of cleaning that up, and yeah, sort of just getting into that, and sort of just started. I bought a couple of calves on the weekend, and sort of just want to start trying to breed them and give us something to do on the weekends off.
do you reckon you're the only footballers in the NRL who cow breeding?
I don't know. No, I think there'd be a couple of country boys, I reckon. But yeah, I don't know. It's sort of ever since he's been at South as well, I've sort of been always sort of liked the idea of it. But since he's sort of come on, we've sort of got into it pretty quickly, and we know a few people now that we're sort of going through, and just been buying a few cattle and a couple of bulls and stuff, and just fixing up a couple of yards on his property back home, and we'll start getting it going in the next year or two, and start, I don't know, sort of putting a fair bit of time in it. It sort of keeps us occupied away from footy and gets us refreshed and ready for the next week. So,
one of these questions is plans for after footy. So is that it? Farming?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's one of them now, but I haven't really thought about it. I've always wanted to sort of do like a sort of builder's course and sort of run my own building company that focuses on like Indigenous employment for young Indigenous kids, and sort of whether they're, if they don't like school, just give them a trade and stuff like that, and sort of go back to our communities and sort of fix our communities up, like the housing, all different kinds of things, and sort of just drive that through to our communities, and try and recruit more people as well, and make a business out of it, as well as give back to our community. So that'll be pretty cool. But I guess that and sort of breeding cattle now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've never even thought about that. Yeah. That's a good one. Finally, last one. You've played with a lot of teammates over the years. You played a lot of first grade. Worst roommate, biggest pest of all of them?
I don't know. I've had some really good roommates. I don't think I've had a bad roommate.
I remember you used to say Corey Parker was...
Nah, he was all right, actually. Yeah. He was all right. That was my first year in Bronx, actually. Wayne didn't trust me then.
Corey Parker with you.
So he put me with the captain.
And he'd be pissed off because if you're captain, you're supposed to get your own room, right?
Yeah, I think later in the year I ended up being with Joshua Maguire and that. So he's pretty good, Moose, because we love watching movies and stuff. So, and he's heaps into that. So we used to go watch movies a fair bit.
That's a blind leading the blind, Josh Maguire. Eh?
He's literally blind.
He is. I didn't mean that. He's missing one eye.
He's actually got
he's missing one eye. I totally forgot about that.
No, he's a really good father, but Moosey, he's a legend, and keen to see how he goes this year up there. Seems to be enjoying his off-field stuff up there in Townsville, doing a bit of pigging and that, I've heard. So.
Well, perfect, brother. I appreciate you coming on the Refuse to Lose podcast and just, telling your story and sharing it for people that, people want to know. And I think you've been a kind of an enigma for a lot of your career where people...
I never know what that means.
You're kind of shrouded in mystery. People don't know the James Roberts story, but everyone kind of hears about it. So it's great to hear it from your own words. And I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll get a few more of the boys on and tell their stories and, just get the messages out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bros. I'll bring a couple of boys through in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and my boots. I want my boots.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Cheers, brother.
Too easy, man.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the very first episode of the Refuse to Lose podcast with James Roberts, the NRL star. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you got a lot out of it as well. We're really hoping to bring you more great stories very soon, and so please get on and follow all of our social media profiles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Refuse to Lose, and you'll see them. We're hoping to get a bit of following and get some really great athletes on for you guys to really enjoy. So thank you again, and we'll speak to you soon.